My name is Miguel Leon and I've been in Canada for over 6 years. I came here to get a better quality of life. My mom here came over 12 years ago. So she was able to bring us here, roughly 6 years ago. And it's been a great experience. It's definitely changed my quality of life, right? I'm really thankful for that. So today I want to talk to you guys about the opportunities you can find every day. So every day we have opportunities to be, successful. Many people have different definitions for success, but in my mind, a successful life is, involves four components, right? We got health, wealth, love, and happiness, right? Each of those, you could say, pillars are the foundations of your life, right? If you have a successful life, you need to have those four pillars in order for you to have a really successful life. So in Colombia, that's where I'm from, it is really hard to even have a quality life, right? Unless that, you were privileged, enough to be born in a wealthy family. And, they have, personal trainers, they have chefs that cook for you, they have nutritionists, right? And as you were growing up, you really didn't think about, eating healthy or, or saving and things like this, right? It was all about survival, right? That's why we call them survival mode, right? It's 24/7 survival, right? You have to get a job, to pay your rent, the utilities. You need food. If you have a family, you need to feed your family, right? So it's really tough for you, and especially getting quality food. That's the caveat, right? We can buy food, but it's not the right quality of food. It is the cheap food, unfortunately, right? So one of the things I did when I started making money, I started to invest in more quality food, right? You can consider, the four pillars to be in order. So first you will need to focus on health, right? And I'm not just talking about physical health. I'm talking about, emotional, mental health, right? Just the overall wellness aspect. And, part of that is nutrition, right? You need quality food, right? You need to work out, right? Just do something that you love, right? Just to keep active. You need to have a really healthy mind, right? And that comes through different things like, meditation, relaxation techniques, breathing techniques, right? Many different people, they get this focus from different things, right? So just find out what works for you, and the key to it is just stick to it. The next thing is wealth, right? Most people struggle, to be financially successful, and that is because the system that we're born in, it's kind of rigged in a way. So they're controlling your life in a way. We can call it the status quo, right? You have to be born, okay, your parents, they raise you up, you're a kid, you have to go to school, right? Get an education. And then the whole objective of that is that so you can get more education in a post-secondary degree, right? Post-secondary facility, institution, whether this be college, or university, right? And then you can do 4 to 5 years extra on top of the, how many years you're spending in high school and, elementary school. On top of that, you have to keep learning more, skills and, whatever else they teach you in university to be successful, right? They said that in order for you to be successful, you need to have a degree, right? An education, a piece of paper saying that you're more smarter per se, right? And then, so they lead you into this path, that they say, it's what you have to do. This is gonna make you financially wealthy, right? But in reality, that's not the case. I mean, it was true, 60, 70 years ago, when nobody else, when a least amount of people, when fewer people went to university, right? Let's say 100 people went to university before, they get ahead of everybody else, right? Because the other people, they were just working in the, mines, just physical work, things like that, right? So if you went to university in those times, then, you were way ahead of everybody else. But right now, 2019, this is the, technological age per se, information age. You can get anything that you want, information-wise, with your fingertips, right? Just type it into Google. You have a massive amount of information, more than you can ever consume, right? So, now most people, what they're doing is that, they're going to school, right? They finish high school, then, they find university or college, things like this, because status quo have told them, okay, you have to find this, otherwise you're not gonna be successful, right? And all of this, in reality, in my opinion, is just for the big institutions to make money, right? And I mean, don't get me wrong, like, some people actually need to pursue a higher education. If you want to be a doctor, or a lawyer, you need to learn these things, right? Either way. But what I'm trying to say is, let's say if you're trying to learn marketing or learn English or social studies in university, you're actually just wasting your time. Why do I say this? Okay, let's take a clear example here. A bunch of my friends that graduated, a few months ago, last year, other friends, they struggle to get a job even when they have the degree, right? So what they status quo fails to teach you, besides many things, is that as soon as you get your degree, you're not gonna be successful right away. You still have to work for it, right? You might spend a few more months or even years until you find a job that it's related with your degree, right? With what you want to do. So this is honestly like pretty sad, or I guess upsetting, is that they didn't teach us this in school. Yeah. There is not anything that you can do to change that, to change the school system right now, because, there is a bunch of politicians and, regulations, laws, right? University, they make huge amounts of money. It's very profitable for them, right? Because they set this mindset, this way of thinking since you were a little kid. You have to go to school, okay? Then if you want to be more successful, university. But, university is not free, so you have to pay us even more money, which we don't have. We have to get it from somebody else. And guess from who are we getting it? The government, right? So they're even making more money with interest on the student loans, right? It take 5, 10, or even 20 years to pay it off fully. So when you think about it, they're just making money off of you, right? And in the end, you're not really successful. You see what I'm getting? And then coming back to the point of, 60, 70 years ago, a lot of people, who went to university were successful. It was because there was the minority that was doing it, right? And right now, who is the minority? Well, the people that are not going to university, that are not going what everybody else is doing. You see what I'm trying to get here? In order for you to be successful, you have to not follow the minority. Not follow the majority. You have to be the minority in a way, right? And you can see this, happen over many years, right? Because as soon as all the masses, right, the majority of people start doing something, it becomes less profitable, right? It's like supply and demand, right? Economics 101. If you sell something, let's say you're selling, you're selling this, right? You're the first one to get into the market. Nobody else is doing it. So in your first years, you're gonna be very profitable. Well, if the product is good and just other requirements, but let's just say it's a good product, right? Very first years, you're the first one to introduce this to the market. People are gonna buy it, right? And you're gonna be successful. But as the time goes on, right, just like a bell curve, right? You started, peaks the top, and then start to decline. So years later, more people are like, oh, this is like a great idea. Let's do what he's doing. So more and more people start to do the same thing. So let's say sell this root beer, and then what's going to happen is you're going to decrease your profits, right? Because more people are doing it. They're finding ways to sell it cheaper, and they just like a different person, so they buy it from from their friends, family, whatever else, right? So the same way, it's wealth creation. You need to be in the minority group, right? Everybody else right now, it's going to college, then it's getting on that, but you have your decision. That's the most powerful thing in this world right now, that you have in control. You're in control of yourself, right? And most importantly, the decisions that you can make. There is many things that you cannot control, right? We see these like intrinsic and extrinsic, right? The things that you can control is, the way you're thinking, right? Your decisions, the actions that you do, right? How you behave and things like this, right? The things that you cannot control is, where you were born, how old are you, if you're, your gender, your demographic, right? Things like this. Your family, you cannot control that, right? So instead of complaining about the things that you cannot control, you have to focus on the things that you can control. Which is, like I mentioned before, your decisions, the way how you see life, the way you think, the way you behave. All these little things that people, they disregard. They think because, they were in a unprivileged country that, they are not going to be successful, right? Take me, for example. I was born in a, third world country. Or, well, South America, but maybe it's middle ground, I don't know, but right now it's not doing good, that's for sure. So you have the control. You have to control your own destiny, right? People say, some people say, oh, destiny is already written, right? It's gonna happen either way. I was born here for a reason, right? But reality is, you can control so many things that that you're not aware of, right? That's the key. You need to be aware. You need to realize that you can actually change what's happening. Coming back to my example, I was born in Colombia, right? If my mom didn't want for me to have a better quality of life, she would have just worked and stayed back home, right? Just live the standard life, right? But she wanted to provide more for us, right? She knew that if we came to a, first world country, Canada, where we're going to have a such more better quality of life. So I'm really thankful to my mom because she made a decision coming back again to the things that you can control, your decisions, she made the decision to move to Canada by herself and leave their kids behind. I don't know if you're a parent, but just imagine you have 2 children. One of them is 12 years old and the other one is 18 years old, right? And you have to leave them behind with the family because you want to provide them a better quality of life, right? It is really true that people say that you have to make sacrifices sometimes, right? And even if we don't like it, it's just what we have to do. Again, if you want to be successful, you don't have to follow the crowd, right? You have to stick with the minority. What does the minority do? They make sacrifices, right? Not everybody, is willing to leave their kids behind, right? Because they don't even know if they're going to be successful once they come to the country, right? You still have to work really hard in order for you to be successful and then bring your kids here so that they can be successful, right? It's not simple. But again, if you're willing to sacrifice whatever it takes in order for your kids to be successful or whatever the end goal is, then you're way ahead of the curve. You're way ahead of the society, the people, the minority. It's just I don't know, like I think about it and in the end the world it just going backwards. We should be progressing forward. We have all this technology, all these great things that have been invented, the internet per se, like man, there's so many opportunities now. Like 50, 80 years ago, women, when they're having children, they died because there wasn't any medications for that specific thing, right? Just a bad example, but you guys get my point, right? This is a great time to be alive. This is the 21st century. Humans, we've been here, in this world for thousands of years now. And we have learned a lot of things. Now, the key for you to take away is that you have to learn from history. Why? Well, let's take an example. Like I was saying before, the minority was going to university, right? So the minority was successful. They went ahead of the curve, ahead of the people. Now things have changed a little bit. Most people go to university. They're not successful, but the minority of people, they're creating their own businesses. They're starting innovation, creating companies, things like this, right? And who is more successful? Somebody that the majority of people, the minority of people. People can argue this, right? Because some people that go to university, they are successful, right? But not everybody. Now, I'm not saying that everybody that doesn't go to university is going to be successful, but it's just the point that I want to get across. If you're in the minority, there is more chances that you're going to be successful, right? And why? Well, we were learning this from history, right? History tells us things, right? Like the saying goes that whoever doesn't know the history, he's like condemned to repeat it itself, right? So I encourage you to learn history, and the most important thing, learn from the mistakes that other people have done, so you don't have to repeat those same mistakes. I feel relief by telling you all of this, because this is what changed my life. This is what changed the way of thinking, literally my whole life, right? And I'm really happy that I'm getting this message across to, hundreds, thousands, or even millions of people.